I really think it's important to talk about the financial cost of having a son or daughter who is addicted to substances. I will talk a lot about the physical cost, the emotional, spiritual, and mental cost of addiction on a family and an individual. But when it comes to life or death issues, many parents don't think about the finances very much. It's like whatever it takes to keep my son or daughter alive. But if you have a few failed rehabs, some other things you've tried, a family can be bankrupt from that. This is a disease that is waiting inside of so many people, and if we can make sure it's never tapped into through experimentation, all of those costs are eliminated. You'll see more about how much rehabs cost a little bit later in this lecture, but what about the financial cost of 1 year of using drugs? Of course, most addicts will use for many years in a row. I've even been conservative in my estimations on the dosages, but you'll see how much it costs to be a substance abuser. 3 pills a day as an OXYCONTIN addiction, which is some of them take 20, 50 pills a day, but that would cost you $27,000 a year. Same with the meth addiction, a gram per day, probably less than an addict, maybe a little bit more, over $36,000 a year. An addiction to heroin, over $23,000 a year. And look at the cocaine addiction, $54,000 a year. That is just 1 year with conservative doses. It can also show you why so many addicts are selling things, stealing and selling, constantly making runs to keep their habit alive. They are dreadfully afraid of withdrawal. In fact, psychologically, they believe it could end their life, that pain. What about the other substance abuse expenses, the lost days and weeks of income, years? Just think about that financial outcome. Or lifelong depression medicines to make someone who's recovered feel normal, at least, from the damage that they've done their brain. Other healthcare expenses, doctor's appointments, so many different doctors in the mix that didn't need to be there if we could have prevented the drug experimentation. Extensive legal costs. You know that's always a factor. The jails are full of addicts. So tragic and could have been avoided. You always hear he needs rehab, or that celebrity, she went into rehab again. A rehab facility is about $1,000 a day. Some go up to $1,500. I've seen some for $45,000 for a month, and some less. And if an addict is actually able to recover, which is rare, they generally need over 3 rehabs to make that happen. So 30,000 times the 3.2, $96,000 right there. These rehab facilities are gorgeous. You hear about them in Malibu, other island getaways like Padre Island. They don't build those amazing complexes because addiction is going away. And if so, they aren't the ones making it go away. What they are doing is making money hand over fist. A lot of money to build those places. And there's a lot of addicts willing to pay it. By taking this course, you are doing more than anyone can to keep your son or daughter away from drug experimentation. Follow it through, and we'll be successful together.